Hello everybody, this is Jesse from EMI'SComputers.com, and today we're going to make a brick breaker game. Let's get started. Let's go up to project title here, and let's name this from untitled to brick breaker game. Once we have our title of our project, we're going to go down to the sprite right here, and we're going to go ahead and delete the sprite by clicking on the trash can, and we're going to go ahead and go to choose sprite, and we're going to get a ball for the game. Let's go ahead and click on this baseball, go to costumes, make sure our selection tool is selected, drag out a box, and we're going to scale this down a bit. Hover over one of the handlebars and click on or hold down Alt and then left click to scale it down. Now you want to make sure the ball is in the center of this crosshair right here, because we're going to be setting coordinates on the position, and if you have the origin point somewhere else on the canvas, it's not going to be right. So let's make sure it's in the middle of this canvas. Scale mine out just a bit. That's good. So let's go back to this code tab, and then we're going to go ahead and be placing the logic bricks for our code. Let's go to events. When clicked, start the script. So when you click on the green flag, it'll start our program. Now let's go ahead and put the position of our ball. Let's go to motion. We want to go to X and Y set at 0, so it's set in the middle of our scene. So go to X and Y. There we are. Let's all set these to 0. Now let's go to point in direction, so 135 degree angle to start our ball. Point in direction, there we go. And 135 degrees. And then we're going to have the ball wait for at least 1 second. Or go down to control rather than events, wait 1 second. Now we're going to grab a forever loop so the ball keeps doing what we want it to do. So we forever want it to move 10 steps if on the edge, bounce. So go to motion, move 10 steps, and if on edge, bounce. There we are. Now let's test out our code to see if it works. And the ball is bouncing on the edge. Perfect. Let's go ahead and stop our script. And then we're going to go ahead and make the paddle for our ball. Let's go ahead and go down to choose sprite. Instead, we're going to click on the little paintbrush this time to make our paddle. Alright, so let's draw out a little box, and let's keep it in the center of our screen. It's a little too thick, so we're gonna scale it up just a bit and adjust it to our liking. I'm going to go ahead and make mine a little bit green. Let's see. There we are. Now, if yours has an outline, you can just go ahead and click on this little outline right here and just keep it as click on the little slash to get rid of the outline, or just move this up and down if you do want an outline. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and keep mine at 0. Alright, now that we have our paddle, let's go ahead and go back to code. And then place the code for our paddle. Let's go to events, when clicked. Let's go ahead and set the rotation style. And I want my rotation style to just don't rotate. Now let's go ahead and position where we want our paddle to begin on the scene. Go to X and Y. Then I'm going to put mine to 130 to negative 140. So our paddle will be at the bottom of our stage and scene. Let's go to events, or rather control, because we want a forever loop. Forever. And then we want our paddle to forever point at our mouse pointer, moving 10 steps, and only locked on the y-axis. So let's go to motion, and then point towards mouse pointer, move 10 steps, and then set y to negative 140. Now let's go ahead and test our paddle to see if it works. You're going to see that our ball doesn't interact with our paddle just yet, and we'll go ahead and add the code once we know that our paddle is working. So there we go. And as you can see, our mouse pointer is directing our paddle, so this is good. So let's go ahead and stop. And then we're going to go ahead and calibrate the bounce for our ball. So let's go back to the ball sprite. And then we're going to go ahead and add an if statement. So go to control, if then, and then if it's touching the paddle, then it should bounce. So we're going to go to sensing, and then touching, and then you'll notice that when we go to mouse pointer, you're going to see these objects. Well, what are these? Well, we didn't properly name our sprites. So we're going to go ahead and go to sprite 1, and we're going to rename sprite 1 paddle. And then we're going to go to baseball. Keep it as the baseball. Well, if touching, well, I don't think the baseball would be here. But let's just go ahead and set it to paddle. And whoops, I accidentally spelled paddle wrong. Sorry about that. So we're going to go to paddle, baseball, and then we'll keep it at paddle. Now let's go to broadcast. So in events, broadcast message, and then we're going to set this to a new message, bounce. Now we're going to go ahead and slide to the left right here to add more bricks. So when I receive a bounce, then you'll point in direction. So when I receive bounce, we're going to point the ball in 180 degrees, and then it will bounce in an arcing motion. So point in direction. There we are. Now let's go ahead and grab an operator, and we want a minus operator. We're going to put 180 minus the direction. There we are. direction. And when we put it to 180, it'll go in like this arcing motion. So 180 minus 45 will be a 135-degree angle. And then 180 plus or minus parentheses minus 45 will equal a 225-degree angle. So this way for our operators. So let's go ahead and grab an event, or rather control, repeat until. Let's go to operators. Let's grab a not operator. And then when it's not touching the paddle. So sensing. Paddle. Motion. Move 10 steps. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and test it to see if it bounces. And it does. Alright, good. And you'll notice how the ball is doing the arcing motion instead of just going straight up and down for our game. And that's what we want. We don't want the ball to go too crazy, because then it'll be unfair and it'll ruin the predictability. So 180 minus 45 will equal a 135-degree angle, and then 180 plus 45 will equal 225-degree angle. All right, let's go ahead and stop our code. And then we're going to go ahead and just make the bricks for our game. So let's go ahead and make a sprite. Paint. Well, actually, let's just go ahead and choose a sprite. This one, button. And I'm going to go ahead and rename this sprite brick. Now let's see if it's still in the middle. Whoops. I'm going to go ahead and delete that, or just Control Z. Make sure our selection tool is selected. It's a little bit too big, so let's go ahead and scale it down just a bit. That'll do. Let's go back to code. Events, when clicked. Hide. Then I'm going to go to control. And then we're not going to do that. We're going to go to variables, and then we're going to put in score variables. Then we're going to rename this to score. Zero. Then we're going to go to looks. And then we're going to set the size to 50%. Then go to X and Y. We're going to set the coordinates for our brick, so we want it on the negative 200 x-axis. And we want this on the positive 140 y-axis. Now let's go to repeat. We want the repeat to be at 4. Then let's grab another repeat. 7. And then we're going to go grab a create clone of myself. And then when it creates a clone, we want the clone to change on the x-axis by 65. So change x by Now be wary of setting x and changing by x. So change x by 65. we're going to set the x, and this time we're going to set the x to 200 and then change y by negative 30. So set x negative 200, then change y by negative 30. Then when I start as clone, where are you? When I start as clone. Under control. There we are, it's under control. When I start as clone, show. Now let's go ahead and test out our code to see if the bricks reproduce. Alright, that's good. Now let's go ahead and start adding collisions to our bricks. So let's go back to the ball. And now, well, I think we should add the collision to the bricks instead of the ball rather. So let's go back to the paddle. When I start as the bricks, I'm afraid. Sorry, I touched the paddle. So let's go back to the brick, and then let's go to event or control. Let's grab a forever. Let's grab an if statement. Then we're going to go sensing, touching baseball. Then we're going to broadcast. Then we're going to leave the broadcast message to bounce. Then we're going to change score by 1, and then we're going to delete the clone when it happens. So delete this clone. Alright, let's go ahead and test out our code to see if it works. And it works. Our bricks are being eliminated. So let's go ahead and add our game over and win screen. So let's go back to the ball. And then let's add this code to the ball. So events, when clicked, we're going to grab a forever loop. Then let's grab an if statement. And then we're going to go ahead and grab an operator, and then we're going to go to a less than operator. Program this to -140. And then we're going to have it set as a Y position. Events, broadcast, and then we're going to go ahead and put in broadcast. And this time we're going to change it to game over. Now let's go ahead and make a sprite for our game over screen. So we're going to go ahead to choose a sprite, paint. We're going to grab our text tool. And then we're going to type game over. Let's change the color to a little bit of a red. There we go. Scale this up a bit. Make sure it's in the middle of our screen. And then let's go ahead and set the coordinates for it in our code. So go to code. When clicked, run our script. Go to X and Y. And we're going to make sure it's in the middle of our screen by setting our X and Y to 0. Looks, and then we're going to hide. So this is going to be hidden until it receives a game over message. So events, when I receive, game over, and then we're going to go to looks, show, and then we're going to have a stop all command, a control. So when you get a game over, it stops everything. So let's go ahead and hit our green flag, and we're going to miss deliberately on purpose. Game over. Good. Now let's go ahead and stop our code, or rather, it's already stopped for us. So let's just go ahead and make our win screen. So choose sprite, paintbrush, drag out a little text, and then we're going to type in you win. Now let's go ahead and change this to green. Scale it up to our liking. Make sure it's in the middle of our screen. It's a little bit too big, so I'm just going to scale this up a bit. All right. Make sure our selection tool is ready. And then let's go ahead and add our code and our coordinates. So events, when clicked, motion, go to X and Y, 0, 0. Now let's go ahead and go to looks. We're going to hide, control, and then we're going to set the score to 0, to 0. So set score. It's under variable, so set score. And then we're going to go to events, wait until, under control again, so wait until. We're going to set an operator. And then we're going to have it as an equal sign, so equal to 28. And then we're going to have it as score, so variable score, looks, show our message, and then once all the bricks are gone, it'll show the you win sign, and then it'll stop all. Stop all. So now let's go ahead and test our game. But first, let's go ahead and change our background. If you want, you can just go ahead and draw out a background in another third-party software. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and use a default one. So I'm going to choose Neon Tunnel. All right. So let's go ahead and test out our game. All right, and there we have it. You may have successfully completed your first Brick Breaker game. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much.